Paula, Scott Nago is joining me now from the Elections Office, the Chief Elections Officer. So he has been dealing with this all day, all afternoon, all morning as to some of the problems that have been having, even though most of them have been essentially resolved. First, why don't we just talk about the Big Island and break down for me what you first heard this morning was happening on the Big Island.
Yeah, initially we heard it was 3 polling places that had poll book issues. 2 of them were they just didn't find the poll book. 1 of them, the poll books weren't there. And then later this afternoon, we found out it was roughly 11 polling places, and then through the proclamation we learned there's over 50% of the polling places.
So then, in light of that, the governor had to step in. Tell me about that.
Yeah, the only person that can extend voting hours by proclamation is the governor, and that's what he did.
Now, how is that going to have an effect? We heard about the delay in the elections results being released. Break down for me what's going to happen because of that.
Well, we can't release results until all polls are closed. Therefore, because the polls aren't going to close to 7:30, we can't release results till after 7:30 or all polls are closed.
Where are you hearing as far as where these polls were delayed and by how much?
We don't know. Right now, we have to debrief. We're going to have a meeting with the counties to see what happened, break everything down, make sure that this doesn't happen again. But initially we heard it was on the west side, and the latest we heard was 8:30 that it opened up.
So what about any other problems? You mentioned that some of the polling books were missing. They found those. What other types of issues have you seen happen that you had to address this morning?
We have our normal issues. These are precinct officials. They're volunteers. They do it twice every 2 years. They get paid $85. They provide civic duty too. They provide a service to the voters. And basically, they're trying their hardest, but, they're not professionals. And they're doing their best to get things done, but, things happen. And they're just trying their hardest and to provide that service.
So the Hawaii County Clerk, she's the one who is the point person there on the big line. Have you been able to contact her? What kind of communications have you had with her, and what has she been able to tell you?
We've been in constant communication with her. The latest was, we urged her to let her voters know that the hours were extended. Also, get the word out through the media that our precinct officials would be working overtime. We want to thank them for putting in this service. It's not something they signed up for, but they will be working till 7:30, and we appreciate that.
This has got to be tough for you guys. I mean, you've got hundreds of thousands of ballots to count to begin with. As you mentioned, this is not something that you can get all the answers for right now.
Yeah, it's like I said, after this election, we're going to go review the process, make sure that we find out what happened and make sure it doesn't happen ever again.
Do you have any other concerns as to the security of the balloting process? There are people that are, wondering, hey, is this going to have an effect on how safe the count is and, where the ballots are going and the security of those ballots?
Fortunately, the system that we have in place has a lot of safeguards. Everything is sealed. There's redundancy. There's checks and balances. So as far as security, we don't see that as an issue.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much, Scott Nago from the Elections Office, giving an update on that. And of course, that, as we mentioned, is going to delay when we're going to get those first results. We had expected to get them around 6:30, 6:45, but we have to wait for all of those polling places to close first before we can get the first results. So it's going to be a little later and a little bit more of a wait for everybody out there. Paula?